boundary, which is the big dinosaur extinction everybody knows about.
Well, yeah, but you said 2012 was going to be a wonderful moment.
Right, because the extinction, we've already gotten past the extinction part. Now we're just waiting for the mass spontaneous evolution part, where the DNA starts changing within 1 or 2 generations.
You're not saying that human beings are going to be extinct.
No, but what I'm saying is that they're going to start giving birth to people that are going to look a little different and are going to be a little different. It's already started with these indigo children.
Wait a minute. What are they going to look like?
Well, the eyes are going to gradually get bigger. They're going to gradually have less hair. The cranium is going to get larger. The bodies are going to get more slender. And before you know it, they're going to look like these beings in the UFOs that are traveling back in time as ourselves to visit us.
They're going to look like these grays that everybody describes.
Well, not necessarily. The gray is a more advanced stage, but the earlier stages just have larger eyes and bald heads that are larger. But those are people of ourselves that are actually traveling back in time to visit us, because they've already evolved to the point that they have time travel. But the thing we didn't think of is if people from our future come back in time to visit us because they can time travel, why would we automatically assume that they look like us when everything on Earth keeps changing and going into more sophisticated and complicated forms?
So you are saying, as the reincarnated Edgar Casey, who talked about all kinds of Earth changes and all of records and things, you are saying that in 2012 our DNA structure is going to start changing somewhat, and that offspring will start looking like you've just described?
In the beginning, yes. There will be earlier stages of it in which you'll see kids being born that are highly telepathic, like myself, that have highly developed intuitive abilities. Some of them are going to be able to do telekinesis very dramatically. Will this be a slow evolution, David, or will it occur 2012, bang, here we go? It's already happening, but I believe in 2012 there's going to be like a sudden major shift. And the DNA evolution is a very important part of that. Because, again, we got to remember, this is not something we're just hanging out over the line talking about. This is something that's been happening at least 10 times in a row, like a clock, every 26 million years. And all the things that are going on throughout the solar system suggest the same conditions that were present when it's happened in the past. How do you envision, then, this planet with this kind of change in terms of the people, what they can contribute to society? What's going to happen? Society itself will be founded upon the principle of unconditional love. And that is so much different than what it is right now. Well, I was going to say that it's about time. Basically what's going to happen is that if you don't have the ability to love others that way, you're not going to be able to take on another incarnation. The only people that will be able to be born that can withstand that higher frequency are people who vibrate at the level of unconditional love. So you're saying that, let's say an evil person passes on. Mm-hmm. Generally, that person's soul, if you believe in reincarnation, comes mm-hmm. back because it's trying to reach perfection. It comes back, it comes back. Right. You're saying they're not coming back anymore. Well, he'll be reincarnating on a different planet that's still in third density. But not on this planet. Right. Might he be in his own hell then by that time? No more of a hell than he's in right now as he's listening to my voice. Yeah, but we don't have to deal with him then, you're saying. Well, yeah. Basically the Earth has done its time. It's had its time to deal with this kind of experience. The Earth is also a sentient being, according to these teachings. It's also evolving. And it's growing out of the point where it needs this kind of stuff. So are you saying, though, the planet will start purging itself of evil? Well, they're just going to die, and then when they die, they're not going to be born again. It's pretty simple. It could take as long as 700 years. It could take as short as, 10 years. But the point is that it's going to happen, and the new babies that are born are going to be these star people, these children that have incredible new gifts to bring to us. And I assume, then, that these are non-warring children when they grow up, right? Right. They're all going to have the qualities of that wanderer checklist that I just read you. Well, let me tell you, David, if that can occur, it's a pretty dramatic change for this planet and probably well needed. Well, you remember the DNA thing I talked about last time where Dr. Peter Gariev took a laser beam and shined it into a salamander's embryo, then took the remaining part of that beam with the wave of the DNA from the salamander on it and shined it into a developing live frog embryo. And that frog embryo utterly and totally transformed into a salamander, which grew into full adulthood and could breed with other salamanders and had no problems associated with genetic splicing or any of that stuff. He literally turned a frog into a salamander with energy.
Is this thing going to happen in another 26 million years again?
Sure. The Earth is going to keep on going on this continuum, and apparently, as I've been told, eventually it will host third-dimensional life like ours again, third-density life, but not for a long time. There's going to be a good while where the Earth is fourth density. Now, here's the other thing, okay? There are bad ETs. There are negative ETs as well as positive ones, and some of the people in this new world are going to have to fight these battles to keep the negative ETs from trying to invade, which is what's already happening now. There's already this war of Armageddon that's been going on for 2,000 years between the good guys and the bad guys, and they're both trying to get their kicks in.
Do you mean like reptilians?
Well, again, we don't want to be interstellar racist, but it does happen to be that the Draconian Empire, as some have called it, is predominantly a reptilian-based species.
Right.
The reptilian seems to be the species that has the most intelligence and cunning and ability to organize and direct, whereas there are certain types of grays that are also negative, the ones with the large black eyes. But also, again, a lot of these grays are not negative, and so you can't just say if it looks like that, it's bad, and if it looks like that, it's good.
How bumpy is the road going to be until we get to 2012, David?
Look at what just happened in Florida. You know, it doesn't really matter where you live. There are going to be what Ra calls inconveniences. And there's a really good source that I want to make sure I mention that's called the Law of One series.
Mm-hmm.
It was channeled in the early 1980s before any of this stuff about interplanetary climate change was known, but it has all that information already in it. So I can't claim that a lot of this stuff was mine because basically I owe everything to these books. There's a website called www.llresearch.org. That's important, you get the .org at the end. And anyway, these books are out there, and what an amazing source, because all these things I'm telling you are just small bits of what's in there. When I had been reading Richard Hoagland, reading all this other stuff, and then I threaded it all together and found the Law of One in January 1996 and explained everything. It explained the spiritual process of this ascension and what's happening to us. And I said, man, if this is for real, then there's got to be a scientific way to prove it, and that's what I've dedicated my life to doing.
Hey, before we go to calls, David, give me your take. You had mentioned something about my experiment where I tried to slow down or move Hurricane Charlie. It worked partially in that we shut down the tropical storm Bonnie. We also diverted the hurricane from hitting Tampa, as we had called for, but right. The thing still went crazy. What did we do wrong?
Well, imagine that you and all the Coast audience are people inside a sailboat. And imagine that you see that the wind is blowing in a certain direction, and you don't want the sailboat to go in that direction, and you don't have the rudder, so you tell everybody, blow on the sail as hard as you can.
Right. That's what we did.
You with me? So basically, in some situations, it's going to work very well. There is a definite strength there. And in a situation like this hurricane, the increase in the severity was not due to any type of inversion of the effect that your audience was generating. In fact, the very fact that you did it at all probably stopped it from having the 200-plus mile-an-hour winds and being like Category 5.
So you think it did have some benefit?
Oh, absolutely.
The experiment, okay.
The science stands fast. I mean, there is nothing wrong with trying to protect this planet. In fact, those kinds of experiments that you're doing are exactly what we need more of. But the thing is, a hurricane like that is the result of a cumulative buildup of energy that needs to be released. So what's really required is for there to be some way to stabilize the planet's energy fields, and that's why Richard and I, in the book we're going to write, are going to be talking about how an ultra-cheap worldwide system of pyramids could be built, probably for no more than a total of $150 million, which isn't really that much considering what people throw around these days.
Not worldwide. That's nothing.
And And if we did that, it could significantly decrease Earth changes. And one of the things I wanted to point out before we go to calls, just real quick,